I know that if I do not prioritize myself, the self-care that I need to make it through the day, that nobody is going to benefit from that, especially myself. Living in gratitude is so important because we all have something that we can be grateful for. When you're in real estate, your next paycheck, you don't know when it's going to come, right? I have that discipline. I have found that so many agents don't. They don't know how to set up their schedule. And so they'll say yes to things that don't serve their business.
Back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey. We are officially top 5% of all podcasts globally. It's because of the great guests that we have on, like Shelley Cooley from the Houston market. Welcome to the show, Shelley.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Shelley is a top producing agent in the Houston market. She last year did over 33 million between her and her husband. Typically does around 100 transactions every single year. Way back in the day was a teacher, then got into staging, and now is the top producing realtor that you're talking to now. We're going to get into your story, but right before the show, you started talking to me about your passion being helping people who are stuck. And I think that's a good place to start this time of the year. You and I were even talking about how we get stuck. But this negative mind cycle, you attribute to you have actually kicked it because of your morning routine. So where I'd like to start is you telling me about where your morning routine used to be and what it is now and why that was so instrumental.
Sure. So I think, back probably 10 years ago, I would just get out of bed and I would just start my day, start working immediately or rush out the door. Now I am very intentional about my mornings. I get up early, a couple of hours early where it's still very quiet and nobody's going to bother me in the mornings. It's my time. And that's where I just feed my mind, body, and soul. I, do some spiritual reading. I meditate. I pray. I say daily affirmations. And then, once I kind of get through that, then I usually depending on the weather, I'll go outdoors and I'll go for a ruck, which is just power walking with a weighted vest. Or I'll run to one of the local gyms and I will work out there. But I think
you said rucking.
Yeah.
So specifically that's power walking, but with a weighted vest.
Yeah, so technically that's from the military, and I think they use actual weights in a backpack. But I have found that a weighted vest is very nice because it's very fitted and it just fits nicely on my back. And it's just additional weight. It keeps your core strong. I think there's a lot of goodness for it, especially as you're aging. It keeps your spine strong and in your core. And I think it's a good leg workout for sure.
I'll have to send you a past episode where I interviewed Bobby Wright, who's the director of product growth for Real Producers. So we were talking about these weighted vests. We have the 20-pound weighted vests that we do certain workouts in. I think Murph workouts made them pretty famous for CrossFit. But he says he puts on his weighted vest when he starts feeling sorry for himself. Like he's like making excuses. So like he'll literally put the weighted vest on until he realizes like it could be way worse. I thought that was pretty funny. So that's one of your main workouts though. You love rucking.
I do. I love that. But I'm not going to say it's kind of multi-purpose because if I'm out walking and I go 4 or 5 miles, then that allows me to listen to something positive, either in, spiritual or real estate space, something about, usually I'm listening to a podcast or listening to a book. So there's killing 2 birds with one stone,
So you said you used to just get up and just start working. And I'm guilty of this too, especially in a busy season. And sometimes it's coming from a good place where you're excited, like good things are happening in the business. You want to get ahead. And so you wake up and boom, before you've even done anything, you're checking your emails or ready to just turn your alarm off. You also mentioned that getting away from a workout occasionally, like if you don't make it a priority, you're only letting yourself down. So how do you address that? How do you realize, oh shoot, I'm stuck in this endless cycle. I need to flip it on its head.
Yeah, I mean, we're all human, so we're going to do that from time to time. And, that is my natural default, right? I want to get up and get started and start working. But I know that if I do not prioritize myself, the self-care that I need to make it through the day, that nobody is going to benefit from that, especially myself. So if I do start to slip and I start to see myself get away, I just regroup and say, okay, I've got to start doing this again, being very consistent with it. And I mean, if I do get away from it, it's only for a couple of days, but it's very evident because things start, don't go so well. I mean, I'm a better person. I'm a better team leader. I'm a better wife and mom and all the things, right? If I set some time aside so that I am, being still and being quiet and focusing on all the good stuff. I mentioned to you earlier that I really start my day out in gratitude. That's a huge part of what I do. I mean, living in gratitude is so important because we all have something that we can be grateful for. Even when days are going bad, maybe something's not going your way, there's always something that you can focus on being grateful for.
You sound pretty intentional about what you mean by living in gratitude. I think some of us would agree with you. We'd be like, yeah, I'm grateful, but it sounds like you're actually intentional. What does that actually mean, living in gratitude? Do you physically write something down? Do you have a chart? What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, I do. And this is something I try to do daily. Also, I have a gratitude journal. I try to write in it daily. But even if I don't, if I don't write in my journal for a day, I am saying, my affirmations. There's always going to be giving thanks by starting those daily affirmations. But something I do is when I will go and walk, there's this little bench and it sits in front of a lake in my community. And I'll stop right then and sit on the bench and I will just look out on this beautiful lake and I will just, go into gratitude and thanking God for all the things that I have, all the blessings. Because I really do believe that we have to stop and smell the roses and enjoy where we are right now in life. And I think, success begets success and gratitude beget, all the goodness comes when you are focused on the things that are going right in your life. I think more of those things just come. You're an attractor of those
So
things.
this, so if we apply this to like real estate was a down year. You mentioned that it was one of the worst years in real estate history in terms of homes being sold. Sounds like you still figured out a way, and a lot of everyone we've had on the show, that's what makes you great at. That's why you're on the show, is you're great at selling real estate. Um, do you feel like when you observe this year really sucks, I'm not selling as much or whatever, how do you apply gratitude in a negative situation, death of a family member, lost my job, all these things that could contribute to like pretty epically bad days or years? How do you show gratitude in those moments?
It is a mindset. It really is. I mean, we're all going to go through things. And there's not going to be, every day is not going to be perfect. We're all going to have things that we go through. But I just think it's the way that you tackle those things. So faith for me is huge. I know that, if I am going through a bad period, I mean, I lost my mom recently. I say recently, in the last year and a half, she passed away. She got sick and, suddenly passed away. And I had to power through that. And, my faith right there, just, I know that she's in a better place. Am I sad? Oh my gosh, yes. Do I miss her every single day? Absolutely. Do I want to pick up the phone and call her? Yes. But I also think, you know what? I'm here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I need to serve others. So I work through it. Just staying, I really do believe it's a mindset. I mean, everybody can have a pity party and you're okay to feel those things, but just don't stay camped out there too long.
Yeah. Well, you can tell that you're influencing other people and impacting their day as well, just from the numbers of the success. I mean, it's been very hard to have this kind of level of success without that kind of a mindset. So let's start from the beginning. You were a teacher for what, 15 years. Here's my first question. Would you still be teaching if the money was the same as real estate?
Oh gosh. Oh, the hardest job on the planet. No.
Yeah.
No.
I
I
mean, you
served
did it
my
for
time.
15 years. I mean, 15 years is a career in itself.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate and I count my blessings daily that I had the opportunity to teach. I think that was part of my journey. I don't think that I could have started out and been a successful realtor at age 23 when I started my teaching career. I think that I needed to go through all those things to build the skill sets and to, teachers, I don't know if you ever heard this, but teachers make great realtors. And I think it's because we have to juggle so much as teachers and then you have the whole parent aspect, right? Not only do you have to teach the kids, but you also have to keep the parents happy. And so I'm grateful for the years of teaching. I wouldn't change that for anything, but at the same time, there's no going back.
Oh man, I hear you. I come from a family of educators. My mother has been a kindergarten teacher for 35 years now.
Bless her. Bless her.
I can't. I walk in and I walk right back out. You know, we need people like her. And my dad, same thing. He's the principal, so I get it. But instead of going straight into real estate, you took a little bit of a detour and you were in staging. And I think that's interesting because staging is an industry that I'm fascinated by, and I've got some questions about it. Do you remember your days in staging pretty well?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
All right. So here's what I want to is did you own the staging company?
I did. I mean, it was just a side hustle. I was a teacher. I'd gone through a divorce, and I wanted to make some extra money. And a friend of mine connected me with a realtor in the Houston area that was a high producing realtor. I knew nothing about real estate at the time, but it was a friend of hers, and she knew that I loved design and decor, and she put us in touch. And he was looking to hire a stager. It was, 2009 was a down year in real estate, and he wanted to add value to his clients. And so he also said he wanted me to be the bad guy, right? He wanted me to go in and tell them what to do to get their house ready for the market. I was never the bad guy, honestly. I mean, we had the same goal in mind. The minute I walked in to somebody's, home, and I met with them for the first 20 seconds, I knew their personality enough to know, how do I need to deliver this message? What do I need to say to get them to understand that I'm on their side? Our goal is to get your home sold and sold for maximum value. So let's take care of doing these things. So it's really more of a consultation. I would just tell them what to do. Most people have decent stuff that you could use, to get your home ready for the market.
But this is what's interesting about a staging company, because so at Real Producers, obviously, we work with a lot of vendors that cater specifically to the real estate deal. So staging being one of them. And I've always been curious how you grow a staging company, because as you are acquiring furniture to stage a home, like let's say the home was completely empty, that's a lot of furniture. There's levels, obviously, you don't decorate every single wall. But as you grow, in order to grow your business, you have to acquire more things, more furniture. And by the time you've acquired, I don't know, 10x of that, it's pretty quickly before that goes out of style. So how do you like strategically grow your business by investing back into the business?
Yeah. So I will just, full disclosure, I was not that kind of stager. So what happened was, I would just go out and do a consultation, and I would help people get their home ready for the market, ready for photos. So I partner with stagers now, and we call that full furniture stagers. What I did was, once I started having people come to me and the word spread that I was a stager, then I very quickly found somebody that did do that. I had relationships with builders, and I was able to help her when they would come to me and say, "Hey, can you stage this inventory home? We can't get it sold. We need to be staged." I would contact her. She had all the furniture. She had the crews. I would help her with the contracts, and then she would go in and do the actual hands-on staging. So I kind of had two different staging gigs going on at the same time. One was more of a consultation based. The other was full furniture, but it wasn't my furniture. So that's how I was able to do that. And you would have to ask a stager, because that is definitely, I'm going to stay in my lane as a realtor. I don't know how to grow a business like that. So it was
But what's interesting is it sounds like what you're describing is something that a realtor should be good at anyway. Like I'm assuming, not using a stager, since that was your background, and you can walk in and still have that gene, that design, but some people don't have it.
No, it's helpful to have the knowledge and to be able to say, "Hey, I staged homes for 8.5 years before I got licensed." But I will still send a stager to meet with them for a consultation, because I like to wear my realtor hat. I don't want to go back and do staging now, right? I want to be the realtor there. I want to be the expert in as their realtor. And so I have a stager that I work with, just like I was for the 8.5 years before I got licensed. And so I have somebody go in after I meet with the people, and I know they're going to move forward and put their house on the market. I just have a stager go in after me, and she does a consultation with them. If they need furniture, if they need extra stuff, then that's something that we work out with the stager.
Do you ever disagree with them?
With the stager? No, but if there's ever a time where like I see something when I go out on the listing appointment and I mention it to the people and I'll always say, hey, you're probably going to hear this from the stager also when she comes. Then sometimes I will reach out to the stager and go, hey, just a little heads up. Can you make sure you focus on this? And or that, and sometimes we double team them like that. But honestly, no, people are eager; they want help, and you would think that it would be more common sense than it really is. People just don't know, right? And we live in homes one way, but when you show a house, you need to make sure that it's ready to appeal to the masses. And so that's why it's so important. And so when you tell people that, they don't get offended. They want to do whatever it takes to get their home ready for photos and showings.
I'm curious to what you think of this. So I own an Airbnb, and it had been a while since I had visited it. Like I'm talking like over a year. And so what happens in that time is like if you have a management company that's managing it or a cleaning company, they don't have the same they don't have the same eye, they don't have the same expectations that you as the owner do. And so little things start adding up, little marks on the walls, little chips on the furniture. And when we went to sell it to free up some money, we weren't getting even what the market would suggest that we should. And so after going in and pitching this almost as a luxury Airbnb, you walk in and you can't really tell why, but it just doesn't feel the way it should. And it's because of all these subconscious things that, the mark on the wall, like these things that are adding up to where it's like, it's not a lot, but it's enough where it just feels different. So as a realtor, when you start, have you had deals that have either fallen through or you just didn't get as much money and it's because they refuse to listen to like the staging eye?
Oh gosh, definitely. Yeah. And I will tell you though, that's been few and far between. I mean, I don't have that issue most of the time. I mean, people, like I said, they want to do what you're telling them. And especially, and I think that's another reason why I don't do it. I let a stager go, right? Because if they know that they're meeting with the stager, yeah. And I don't want to say, because I mean, I never had to be the bad guy when I was the stager going out. I mean, maybe a count of, two or three times, right? Where you just had people that they're going to find a problem with everything. They were just those kind of people. But honestly, if you are meeting with a stager and you know that stager is coming to your house to help you prepare your home for the market so that you can get maximum value for your house, chances are that people are going to be very eager to listen to you. And I tell people also as the realtor, I say, hey, she's going to meet with you. These are recommendations, but we know what we're talking about. Like, you're going to want to listen to what she says. So
yeah,
it works
it's
out.
really good framing. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned in the pre-show that the 8 years of staging is where you learned how to cold call. This is where you like refined your salesmanship, which ultimately led to you becoming a realtor. So what was that transition like? What about the sales culture of that cold calling made you think, hey, I want to join the dark side now. I want to be on the other side of this deal?
Well, there's actually something in between. So becoming a realtor. So while I was a stager for 8.5 years, I also went to work on the team with the agent that I was doing all the staging for. I joined his team as a business development person. And that's where I would go out and call on builders, and the salespeople, right? The people selling the homes for the builders. And I didn't have a sales background at all. So, I mean, that was cold calling to me. And it was a little unnerving to walk into a model and introduce myself and tell the salesperson, hey, you should consider our team. And here's why, right? If you've got somebody that doesn't have a realtor and that they have a home to sell, refer them to us. But I did that for about 3.5 years combined with the staging. And so I think that's really where I learned how to get over the fear of cold calling, or, just it helped me to bridge that gap coming from a teacher, talking to little students all day or children all day, going into, meeting with a stranger in a model and trying to, sell our services to them. So that is part of what I think has made me a well-rounded realtor too. I mean, I have the staging piece. I know how to talk to people that I'm just meeting for the first time, whether it, was through staging or talking to a salesperson with the builder. So now, I mean, when people call me and they're inviting me to their home because they want to talk to me about selling their home, it's easy, right? It's the challenging part is behind me. So.
Do you feel like you would have been a realtor if you would have known what you know now? Obviously, you taught for 15 years, but you felt led to teach. Are you glad you have 5 kids that are grown? They're 21 to 28. Are you glad that you've discovered this industry as an empty nester?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. So I still had, I think both two of my girls were still in high school when I became an agent, and but they were self sufficient, right? They were in high school and they could handle life. Them well, I mean, I was there. Don't be that sounds terrible. They could handle life on their own. I was still there, but I wasn't doing the daily, mommy things that a lot of these ladies that are realtors with small children. I don't know how they do it. I couldn't work at the level that I work and spend the time that I do working if I had small children. But yes, I'm grateful every single day that I have been given the opportunity for a second career. And we talked a little bit about me not having grandkids yet. I don't have any grandkids, and I'm in no hurry for them. And I think it's because this is my time, right? I've raised my kids, and now I'm enjoying being an agent and working all the time. That I want to be a very good grandmother one day, but now is kind of my time. I'm selfish. I'm in that selfish era right now, wanting to work.
It's funny you say that you're in no hurry. I wonder what say you have in that matter.
Exactly. No, I think once it happens, and of course I'm going to be over the moon excited, but right now I'm enjoying life, and I love that I get to, work so much. I get to help so many people. That is really what I feel that I am put on this earth for, and that is just to serve others.
I want to talk about your path to success because obviously you are successful. 33 million is not easy to do. You're in Houston. By the way, we haven't talked about Houston. What do you love about selling in Houston?
Well, there's people are moving here all the time for jobs. So,
Yeah, it's
uh,
growing.
yeah, it's growing like crazy. And I live in an area, I live in a suburb, Cypress, and there's just, it's like one of the hottest zip codes. I think it's in the top 2 zip codes that are, sells the most. And so it's just, there's always, homes coming on the market. There's people moving here for jobs. So it's like, even though we might be in a tougher market right now, people are still needing to buy homes. So it's a good place to be.
So think about your struggles growing over the years. And I want to ask this question in this way. People who struggle to find the success that you have had, specifically when a hardship comes, how do they handle it? And how did you handle it conversely to find your success?
Gosh, that's a good question. I
So like
think
let's start with the hardships. What were some of the hardships along the way from 0 homes sold to 33 million?
I think just not knowing, when you're in real estate, your next paycheck, you don't know when it's going to come, right? Because you got to sell a house. So I think for me, I didn't focus on what I wasn't doing. I was focusing on what I was doing and staying consistent and just staying in activity at all times. Because I think that there is definitely a link between agents who are producing agents, staying in activity, constantly, doing maybe not the glamorous things, but being consistent with the things that they're doing. A lot of agents will chase the shiny objects. And I think that if you can just focus on staying on the basics, like making your calls, doing pop bys, stopping by and visiting a past client. When I pass a neighborhood sometimes that I've sold somebody in, I'll pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm driving by, just thinking of you, and I'm just passing your neighborhood. How are you doing? Right? It's just really staying in relationship with people. And no matter what it is that you're doing to build your business or to make your business successful, I think that it comes back to staying consistent. That's the key. It really is.
What do you think the biggest distraction is for someone who doesn't do that activity? Because you mentioned the activities, pop-bys, making calls. Let's assume they have people to call. What's the biggest distractor that you see in real estate? What are newer agents or less successful agents doing to pass the time that is wasting their time?
I was going to say, I think it's wasting their time. They don't know what to do, right? They don't know what to do. They will prioritize other things. I mean, I think when you're working as an agent and you're not going into an office. Like I office from home and I love that, but I have self-control, right? I am motivated to get into my office every single day. And I set up my work week where just like I'm going into a classroom, I had to report, 7:30 in the morning, and I didn't leave my classroom most days until 5:30. It's the same thing, but I have that discipline. I have found that so many agents don't. They don't know how to set up their schedule. And so they'll say yes to things that don't serve their business, right? Whether that's going to lunch with a friend that has nothing to do with real estate, or running errands, or just wasting time, right? I think that is a big part of why so many people aren't successful. They think it's going to be easy. And so they get into the business and they don't realize that you have to work your business. And you have to work it consistently and on a regular basis, not just when you feel like it.
Well, the two things I heard, the first thing is, one, you worked it like a 9 to 5, or in this case, a 7 to 3. You got started in teaching, which taught you discipline, but also like a timetable. Whereas if you're new to real estate because you wanted to get in, because you knew you could control your schedule and make a ton of money, if that number one thing, controlling your schedule, is what's driving you, it's possible that you're going in probably not intending to abuse it, but you're going to abuse it. And now you work when you want to and you don't work when you don't want to. Well, I got news for you. If things aren't going well, the first thing that happens is you don't want to work. You don't want to do more of those things. So teaching, taught you like how to create a schedule, how to stay, other people are relying on you to show up for that. Well, if you apply that same thing to your business, you're going to show up when you don't want to, which is where that discipline comes in.
Absolutely. And I think there's a little bit of a trick to it also. I mean, I read a lot of professional development books, and I think that you've probably heard this, but we're supposed to start with the hard things first, right? Get the hard things out of the way at the first of the day. And then your day becomes a little easier. So I think instead of procrastinating and putting those harder things until later when you're going to be tired and you don't feel like doing them even more, it's better just to tackle them and get them out of the way early on.
Well, the second thing you said that I learned is that you joined a team and you kind of eased into this. And that's where I think a lot of entrepreneurs, not just real estate, this is where I think a lot of entrepreneurs are going south, is like the hot new thing for kids even is when they grow up, they don't want to be astronauts or the president or, NBA players anymore. They want to be an entrepreneur. Specifically, they want to be a YouTuber. And so instead of doing a job and learning grit, learning, doing hard things for long periods of time, schedule, all that kind of stuff, they just go right into the creator world. And even when you got into real estate, you still went into the side door and were doing another job also related to real estate, learning from that, and then learning from a team. And then now look at you. And I think that is a trajectory that is able to be duplicated way more consistently than just, I'm going to rely on talent and hard work right from the get-go. I think joining a team really makes sense. What are your thoughts on joining a team when you get into real estate?
100%. Absolutely. So I think, it depends too on which brokerage you choose, because I think there are brokerages out there that have a model that, if you want to be an independent agent, you can be successful starting out just because of the way that they have collaboration. Like I'm with EXP. So that's my favorite part of EXP, the collaboration. So if you're an older person, you've had a previous career and you want to get started, you've got a good sphere of influence, I think you can be successful. But I have told many, many, many agents, young and older, that starting out joining a team is the way to go. And even if I say it like this, because I think so many people get caught up on the splits and it's all about, oh, that's too much money. Why would I ever give somebody that much money? Right. I stayed on a team for 11 years. Now, as a licensed agent, I was on the team for probably 7 of those years, 7, 8 years. And so it's just comical to me because I've always been a high producing agent from my very first year in real estate. And I never once thought about it that way. Yes. Did I love giving half my money away? No. But at the same time, I was staying in activity and I was go, 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 go. And I was making a very good living. I was learning a lot. And that's the key right there. You have to have that support system. You want to surround yourself with other people who have already been there. That they are doing what it is that you're wanting to do, and joining a team and just learning from the ground up, learning the basics of how to be an agent. I think it's very, very important. And also, it's important to find the right team. There are teams out there that may not be the right fit for you. So I think interviewing teams, interviewing brokerages first, then interviewing teams within those brokerages, finding the right fit for whatever it is that an agent is looking for is super important.
I love it. Staying inspired. Shelley Cooley, you told me to end the show, you told me what you were going to do as soon as this show was over, because you had a wake-up call just from talking. Tell everybody what you're going to do as soon as we're done.
I'm going to head to the gym and have some self-care time.
I love it. I love it. Sometimes you got to realize it's not another call that I need to make. I need to stop making calls. I need to get a sweat going, and then I'll be a sharper version when I continue to make calls.
Absolutely. You should sweat at least 30 minutes a day. It's a rule of thumb for me.
I totally agree. This has been Shelley Cooley. Shelley, thanks for being on the show. Where can we find you?
Well, I'm all over social media. So Facebook, Instagram, and it's our tagline is Count on Cooley. So you can do hashtag Count on Cooley and find us anywhere. Yeah, we're the Cooley team.
Count on Cooley. Thanks for being on, Shelley. If you want to influence who we have on the show or what we talk about, please email us at podcast@realproducersmag.com. And if you got even one thing from this show, please send it to one person that you just thought of. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.